17-year-old Ashley Reeves told her parents she had a job interview and drove off in her boyfriend's car, leaving behind a close-knit family who trusted her completely. But 30 hours later, a search team stumbles upon her broken body in dense woods, barely breathing and covered in insect bites, leading to the horrifying discovery that her former middle school teacher had groomed, attacked, and left her to die alone. April 27, 2006 started like any ordinary day in Millstadt, Illinois, a quiet suburban community where neighbors knew each other by name and parents felt safe letting their children walk to school. Ashley Reeves was everything you would expect from a 17-year-old high school junior, bright, athletic, funny, and deeply loved by her family. Living with her parents, Michelle and Mike, along with her younger sister Ashley, had built the kind of life that made her parents proud. She attended Columbia High School, where she maintained excellent grades while balancing a social life that revolved around basketball, friends, and her boyfriend Jeremy Smith, whom she had been dating for nearly 2 years. Jeremy was the kind of young man that parents dream their daughters will bring home. Michelle and Mike Reeves genuinely liked him, describing him as wholesome, honest, and clearly devoted to their daughter. The couple had been together since Ashley was 15, and their relationship had that sweet, innocent quality that comes with first love. But beneath this picture-perfect teenage existence, Ashley was harboring a dangerous secret that she had shared with only her closest friends. For months, she had been meeting secretly with Samson Shelton, a 26-year-old man who had been her teacher when she attended middle school years earlier. Shelton was not just any teacher. He worked as a driver's education instructor at the local high school and had a side career as a professional wrestler, performing under the stage name The Teacher. This dual identity should have been a warning sign, a man who spent his days working with vulnerable teenagers while spending his nights engaged in violent entertainment. The relationship between Ashley and Shelton had begun innocently enough, or so it seemed. Shelton had maintained contact with several of his former students through casual conversations and social media connections. But with Ashley, something darker had developed. What started as friendly conversations had slowly evolved into something far more sinister. Shelton had employed classic grooming techniques, making Ashley feel special and mature beyond her years. He convinced her that their relationship was romantic and meaningful, when in reality, he was systematically manipulating a minor for his own twisted purposes. Ashley, like many victims of grooming, did not initially recognize the predatory nature of these interactions. The secrecy surrounding their relationship should have been another red flag, but Shelton had convinced Ashley that their connection was something beautiful that others simply would not understand. He told her that society was not ready for their love, that her parents would react poorly, and that Jeremy would be devastated if he learned the truth. This manipulation created a perfect storm of shame, fear, and misplaced loyalty that kept Ashley trapped in an increasingly dangerous situation. She found herself living a double life, maintaining her normal teenage relationships, while secretly meeting with a man who was systematically isolating her from her support system. Michelle Reeves later described noticing subtle changes in her daughter's behavior during this period, though she could not have imagined the true cause. Ashley had become slightly more secretive about her phone calls and whereabouts, but these changes were so gradual and relatively minor that they seemed like normal teenage development rather than warning signs of predatory manipulation. The family dynamic in the Reeves household was built on trust and open communication. Ashley had always been comfortable talking to her parents about her life, her relationships, and her concerns. This made her sudden secretiveness all the more troubling in retrospect, though at the time, her parents attributed it to the natural process of a teenager seeking more independence. Jeremy, too, had noticed small changes in Ashley's behavior, but like her parents, he interpreted these shifts as normal fluctuations in a long-term relationship. There were moments when Ashley seemed distracted or distant, times when she was less available than usual, but nothing that raised serious alarm bells for a teenage boy who was dealing with his own academic and social pressures. The community of Millstadt itself provided a false sense of security that made Shelton's predatory behavior easier to hide. This was a place where teachers were respected community members, where parents trusted the adults who worked with their children, and where the idea that a former teacher might be grooming and manipulating a student seemed almost unthinkable. Shelton had cultivated a positive reputation within the community. His colleagues saw him as dedicated and friendly. His wrestling career gave him a certain local celebrity status, and his interactions with students appeared professional and appropriate to outside observers. This public persona provided perfect cover for his private criminal behavior. As April 27th approached, Ashley found herself caught between two worlds that were becoming increasingly difficult to navigate. On one side was her normal teenage life, her family, her boyfriend, her school responsibilities, and her plans for the future. On the other side was this secret relationship that was becoming more demanding and more frightening as Shelton's true nature began to reveal itself. The pressure of maintaining this double life was beginning to take its toll on Ashley, though she could not have predicted how catastrophically it would all come crashing down. She was a 17-year-old girl trying to handle an adult situation that she was neither emotionally nor psychologically equipped to manage. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change everything, though Ashley could never have imagined just how close she would come to losing her life, or how her survival would expose the full horror of what Shelton had been doing to her for months. On the afternoon of April 27th, Ashley told her parents she had a job interview in a neighboring town and needed to borrow Jeremy's car for the trip. This seemed perfectly reasonable to Michelle and Mike Reeves, who knew their daughter was responsible and had been looking for part-time work to save money for college. Ashley kissed her parents goodbye and left the house wearing casual clothes, carrying the outfit she planned to wear for the interview, along with workout gear for a basketball game she was supposed to attend with friends afterward. Everything appeared normal as she backed out of the driveway and headed down the familiar streets of her neighborhood. But there was no job interview. Ashley was actually meeting Shelton, and this meeting would be different from their previous encounters. Over the preceding weeks, Ashley had begun to realize the true nature of their relationship and had started to feel uncomfortable with the direction it was heading. She had decided that she needed to end things with Shelton, a decision that would prove nearly fatal. Hours passed, and when Ashley failed to return home by her 10 o'clock curfew, her parents began to worry. This was completely out of character for their responsible daughter, who had never missed curfew without calling to explain her delay. Michelle tried calling Ashley's cell phone repeatedly, but each call went straight to voicemail. Jeremy was equally concerned when he learned that Ashley had not returned home. He had been expecting to see her at the basketball game, and when she failed to show up, his worry intensified. The couple had been together long enough that he knew her patterns and habits, and this disappearance was entirely unlike her. By midnight, the Reeves family had contacted the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office to report Ashley missing. The responding officers initially suggested that Ashley might have simply decided to stay out late without permission, but Michelle and Mike insisted that this behavior was completely inconsistent with their daughter's character. The first major break in the case came when police located Jeremy's car abandoned in a parking lot in nearby Freeburg. When officers searched the vehicle, they discovered the interview outfit that Ashley had planned to wear, still neatly folded and unworn. Her workout clothes were also in the car, along with her purse and other personal belongings. This discovery immediately elevated the situation from a potential runaway case to a possible abduction. The fact that Ashley's clothes had not been worn suggested that she had never made it to any job interview, and the abandoned car indicated that something had gone terribly wrong. As word of Ashley's disappearance spread through the community, friends and family members began calling police with information about the missing teenager. It was during these conversations that investigators first learned about Ashley's secret relationship with an older man, though initially, no one could provide specific details about his identity. Ashley's closest friends revealed that she had been meeting with someone she described as a former teacher, but they knew few details about the relationship. Ashley had been secretive about the specifics, sharing only that she was involved with someone older and that their relationship had to remain hidden. Meanwhile, Michelle Reeves had begun her own investigation. She obtained copies of Ashley's phone records and started calling every number her daughter had contacted in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. Most of these calls led to friends and family members, but one number appeared more frequently than others. When Michelle called this number, a man answered and identified himself as Sam Shelton. She explained that her daughter was missing and asked if he had any information about Ashley's whereabouts. Shelton's response was casual and seemingly helpful. He said he had not seen Ashley recently and had no idea where she might be. But Shelton's calm demeanor and quick denial struck Michelle as strange. Most people would have been more concerned or asked more questions when told that a teenager they knew was missing. His lack of curiosity and emotion raised red flags that would prove significant as the investigation progressed. Unknown to the Reeves family, Shelton was at that very moment engaging in behavior that would later seem almost sociopathic in its callousness. After allegedly leaving Ashley for dead in the woods, Shelton had gone about his evening as if nothing had happened. Security cameras at a local country music club captured him line dancing and socializing, showing no signs of distress or concern. As the first full day of Ashley's disappearance wore on, the search effort intensified. Local law enforcement was joined by volunteers from the community, and search teams began combing through parks, wooded areas, and abandoned buildings in the region. The case was receiving local media attention, and Ashley's photograph was being broadcast on television and printed in newspapers. Detective Michael Hundelt of the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office began focusing on the mysterious phone number that had appeared so frequently on Ashley's phone records. When investigators identified the number as belonging to Samson Shelton, they decided to bring him in for questioning. Shelton arrived at the sheriff's office on April 28th, just hours after coaching a high school baseball practice. His casual attitude and apparent lack of concern immediately struck investigators as suspicious. Most people would be visibly worried when asked to come in for questioning about a missing teenager, but Shelton seemed relaxed and confident. The interrogation that followed would stretch on for 12 hours, and would ultimately break the case wide open. Initially, Shelton maintained that he barely knew Ashley and had not seen her in months. He portrayed their relationship as casual and appropriate, claiming that Ashley was simply a former student who occasionally called him for advice. But as investigators pressed him for details, Shelton's story began to change in subtle but significant ways. First, he admitted that Ashley had been calling him more frequently than he had initially suggested. Then he acknowledged that they had met in person on a few occasions, though he insisted these meetings were innocent. As the hours wore on, Shelton's composure began to crack. The confident demeanor he had maintained initially gave way to nervousness and inconsistency. He changed details of his story multiple times, claiming he could not remember certain events clearly or that he had been confused about dates and times. Police Chief Stephen Johnson later observed that an innocent person would have no reason to change their story so dramatically. The constant revisions and contradictions suggested that Shelton was hiding something significant, and investigators began applying more pressure during the interrogation. The breakthrough came when Shelton finally admitted that he had been in a sexual relationship with Ashley. This admission changed everything, as it revealed that a 26-year-old adult had been engaging in illegal sexual conduct with a minor. Even more importantly, it established that Shelton had been lying about the nature of his relationship with the missing girl. With this admission, investigators knew they were on the right track. Shelton had already been caught in multiple lies, and his behavior throughout the interrogation had been suspicious from the beginning. The fact that he had waited until hour 10 of the interrogation to reveal the sexual relationship suggested that he was still hiding more serious information. As dawn broke on April 29th, Ashley had been missing for more than 36 hours. Her family was growing increasingly desperate, and the community was rallying around the search effort. But Ashley was lying broken and barely alive in a wooded area, fighting for survival in a battle that would test every ounce of strength and determination she possessed. The confrontation between Ashley and Shelton had gone far worse than anyone could have imagined, and the clock was ticking on whether searchers would find her in time to save her life. After 12 grueling hours of interrogation, Samson Shelton finally cracked under the relentless pressure from investigators. What began as casual denials had evolved into admissions of inappropriate contact, and now, faced with mounting evidence of his deception, Shelton was about to reveal the full horror of what had happened to Ashley Reeves. The confession came in waves, each revelation more shocking than the last. Shelton first admitted that he had been with Ashley on the day she disappeared, contradicting everything he had told police and Ashley's mother when they first contacted him. He claimed they had met for what he called a casual conversation, but his nervous demeanor suggested there was much more to the story. Under continued questioning, Shelton revealed that he and Ashley had gotten into an argument during their meeting. He claimed that Ashley had become upset and was screaming and kicking inside his car. According to his version of events, he had tried to remove her from the vehicle, but the situation had escalated beyond his control. But investigators sensed that Shelton was still not telling the complete truth. His story contained too many gaps and inconsistencies, and his body language suggested he was holding back crucial information. Detective Hundelt and his team pressed harder, demanding details about what had really happened during this alleged argument. Finally, after hours of evasion and partial truths, Shelton broke down and confessed to the attempted murder. He revealed that during the argument, he had put Ashley in what he described as a wrestling chokehold, applying pressure until she stopped breathing. He claimed that when he realized she was unconscious, he panicked, believing he had killed her. The details that followed were beyond horrific. Shelton told investigators that after he thought Ashley was dead, he decided to move her body to make the crime scene look different from what had actually occurred. He dragged her unconscious form to Ladderman Park, a densely wooded area in Belleville, Illinois. But Ashley was not dead, and Shelton's actions in the park revealed the true depth of his cruelty. Rather than seeking help when he realized she might still be alive, Shelton made a calculated decision to ensure her death. He took a belt and wrapped it around Ashley's neck, pulling it so tight that the belt actually broke from the pressure he applied. Shelton described hearing a gurgling sound as he strangled Ashley with the belt, and he told investigators that foam and spit began coming from her mouth. He said her skin turned a color he described as the sickest color I had ever seen, yet he continued his attack, convinced that he was finishing what he had started in the car. After this brutal assault, Shelton told police that he arranged Ashley's body in the woods to make it appear as though she had been attacked by a stranger in that location. He then fled the scene like a bat out of hell, leaving behind what he believed was a dead body that would not be discovered for days or weeks. The casual way Shelton described these horrific acts shocked even experienced investigators. He spoke about breaking Ashley's neck, strangling her multiple times, and leaving her to die as though he were describing routine events. His lack of remorse or emotion suggested a level of callousness that was difficult for the officers to comprehend. With Shelton's confession in hand, investigators immediately organized a search team to locate Ashley's body in Ladderman Park. Shelton agreed to lead them to the location where he had left her, still apparently believing that they would find nothing more than remains. The search took place during a cold, rainy night that made the already difficult task even more challenging. Armed with flashlights and search equipment, teams of officers combed through the dense undergrowth of the park, following Shelton's directions to the remote area where he claimed to have left Ashley. After 39 minutes of searching through thick woods and underbrush, Officer Tim Brennan spotted something that made his heart stop. Partially hidden beneath fallen leaves and debris, he could make out the shape of a human body. The discovery was both a relief and a source of dread. They had found Ashley, but after more than 30 hours in the woods following such a brutal attack, no one expected her to be alive. As officers approached the still form, they prepared themselves for the worst. Ashley appeared to be dead, her body motionless, and her skin pale from exposure to the cold. She was covered in insect bites from her time in the woods, and her clothing was disheveled from the attack and her subsequent time outdoors. But then, in a moment that would forever change everyone present, one of the officers noticed something impossible. Ashley's chest was moving. She was breathing. The realization that Ashley was still alive sent shockwaves through the search team. After everything Shelton had described, the chokehold, the broken neck, the strangulation with the belt, somehow this 17-year-old girl had survived more than 30 hours in the woods, fighting for life despite injuries that should have been fatal. Emergency medical personnel were immediately called to the scene, and Ashley was carefully extracted from the wooded area. The paramedics who first examined her could hardly believe what they were seeing. She had sustained massive trauma to her neck and spine. Her breathing was labored and irregular, and she was barely conscious, but somehow she was alive. The race to the hospital became a desperate fight against time. Ashley's condition was critical, and medical personnel were not optimistic about her chances of survival. She had sustained what appeared to be catastrophic injuries to her neck and spinal cord, and the prolonged exposure to cold temperatures had taken an additional toll on her already compromised system. At the hospital, doctors immediately placed Ashley in a medically induced coma to protect her brain and give her body the best possible chance of healing. The extent of her injuries was staggering. Shelton's attack had caused severe damage to her neck vertebrae, and there was significant concern about potential brain damage from the strangulation attempts. Meanwhile, back at the sheriff's office, Shelton was processing the news that Ashley had been found alive with a level of self-centered concern that further revealed his character. Rather than expressing relief that she had survived, or remorse for his actions, Shelton's primary concerns were about his own comfort in jail. Audio recordings from the interrogation captured Shelton asking investigators whether he would be able to get his contact lens solution and toothbrush in jail, and whether he would have access to a private toilet because of what he claimed was a urinary stress disorder. These concerns seemed grotesquely inappropriate, given that he had just confessed to attempting to murder a teenager. The contrast between Ashley fighting for her life in a hospital bed and Shelton worrying about his personal comfort in jail perfectly encapsulated the different moral universes these two people inhabited. While Ashley had spent 30 hours clinging to life in freezing woods, Shelton had been line dancing at a country music club, apparently without a care in the world. News of Ashley's survival spread quickly through the community, bringing both relief and outrage. The fact that she had somehow survived such a brutal attack seemed nothing short of miraculous. but the details of what Shelton had done to her were almost too horrific to comprehend. The case that had begun as a missing person investigation had evolved into one of the most shocking attempted murder cases in the region's history. A trusted educator had betrayed that trust in the most violent way possible, and only Ashley's incredible strength and will to live had prevented it from becoming a murder case. As Ashley lay unconscious in her hospital bed, surrounded by family members who were both grateful for her survival and devastated by what she had endured, the legal process began to move forward. Shelton would face serious charges for his crimes, but the focus now was on Ashley's recovery and healing. The 17-year-old girl who had left home for a supposed job interview had instead encountered the worst of human evil and had somehow survived to tell her story. Her journey back to health would be long and difficult, but she had already proven that she possessed a strength and determination that could overcome even the most impossible circumstances. Ashley Reeves's road to recovery proved to be as remarkable as her survival itself. When she finally emerged from the medically induced coma, she faced a mountain of challenges that would test her determination and resilience in ways no 17-year-old should ever have to endure. The injuries Shelton had inflicted were devastating and life-altering. The damage to Ashley's neck and spinal cord meant that she had to relearn the most basic functions that healthy people take for granted. She had to learn how to speak again, how to swallow food and water safely, and how to move her arms and legs in coordinated ways. The process was painstakingly slow and often frustrating. Ashley, who had been a talented athlete before the attack, now struggled to perform simple tasks like holding a cup or walking across a room. The contrast between her former capabilities and her current limitations could have been devastating to her spirit, but Ashley approached her rehabilitation with the same fighting determination that had kept her alive in the woods. One of the most striking aspects of Ashley's recovery was her memory loss surrounding the attack. She told investigators and later media interviews that she could not remember the specific details of what Shelton had done to her, nor could she recall much about the days leading up to the attack or the weeks immediately following it. This traumatic amnesia, while frustrating for investigators seeking a victim impact statement, may have been a protective mechanism that helped Ashley psychologically process the trauma. The memory that Ashley did retain from her recovery period was profound in its simplicity. She remembered her first drink of water after waking up from the coma, describing it as amazing. This small moment of appreciation for something so basic highlighted how close she had come to losing everything and how precious life itself had become to her. Ashley's family provided unwavering support throughout her recovery process. Michelle and Mike Reeves essentially put their own lives on hold to focus on their daughter's healing, attending every therapy session and celebrating every small milestone in her progress. Jeremy, her boyfriend, remained by her side throughout the ordeal, demonstrating a level of commitment and love that was remarkable for such a young relationship. The legal proceedings against Samson Shelton moved forward while Ashley focused on her recovery. Shelton ultimately pleaded guilty to attempted first-degree murder, accepting a 20-year prison sentence in exchange for avoiding a trial that would have forced Ashley to relive the trauma publicly. The plea agreement was controversial in some circles, with community members arguing that Shelton deserved a longer sentence for his crimes. However, Ashley's family supported the plea deal, recognizing that it would allow their daughter to focus on healing rather than being forced to testify about the most traumatic experience of her life. Shelton's behavior throughout the legal process continued to reveal his character. He showed no genuine remorse for his actions and never issued a meaningful apology to Ashley or her family. His primary concern seemed to center on his own situation rather than the devastating impact his crimes had had on his victim. In the years following the attack, Ashley demonstrated remarkable resilience and strength. She wrote a memoir titled Left for Dead, sharing her story in her own words and helping other survivors of violent crime understand that recovery and healing are possible even after the most traumatic experiences. Ashley also became an advocate for other crime survivors, speaking publicly about her experience and working to raise awareness about the warning signs of predatory behavior. Her decision to share her story publicly required tremendous courage, as it meant reliving painful memories in order to help others avoid similar situations. The case also prompted important conversations about the grooming of minors by adults in positions of trust. Ashley's experience highlighted how sophisticated predators can manipulate young people, making them feel special and mature, while actually isolating them from their support systems and putting them in danger. Educational institutions began implementing more robust training programs to help teachers and staff recognize the warning signs of inappropriate relationships between adults and students. Ashley's case became a cautionary tale that was used in training programs across the country, helping prevent other young people from falling victim to similar predatory behavior. In 2017, Ashley participated in a powerful interview with Elizabeth Smart, herself a survivor of kidnapping and abuse. The conversation between these two remarkable women highlighted the strength and resilience that survivors can develop, and it provided hope and inspiration to others who had experienced trauma. During the interview, Ashley returned to Lederman Park, the site where she had nearly lost her life. Standing in the woods where she had fought for survival, she reflected on how the experience had changed her perspective on life and strengthened her appreciation for every day she had been given. The case gained renewed attention in 2021 when Lifetime produced a television movie titled Left for Dead: The Ashley Reeves Story, starring Jenny Garth as Ashley's mother. The film brought Ashley's story to a national audience and served as another platform for raising awareness about predatory behavior and the importance of trusting one's instincts about dangerous situations. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Ashley's journey has been her refusal to be defined by what happened to her. While the attack was a life-changing trauma that required years of physical and emotional healing, Ashley has built a meaningful life that extends far beyond her experience as a crime victim. Her story serves as a powerful reminder that even in the darkest moments, human resilience and determination can triumph over evil. Ashley's survival was not just a physical miracle, it was a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of hope in the face of seemingly impossible circumstances. The impact of Ashley's case extends beyond her individual story to the broader community understanding of how to protect young people from predators and how to support survivors of violent crime. Her courage in sharing her experience has undoubtedly prevented other young people from falling victim to similar crimes and has provided comfort and inspiration to countless survivors. Today, Ashley continues to live her life with the same determination and strength that kept her alive during those 30 hours in the woods. Her story reminds us that while evil exists in this world, it cannot ultimately triumph over the human capacity for survival, healing, and hope. In April of 2024, Samson Shelton was released from prison after serving 17 years of his 20-year sentence. His early release sparked controversy and reminded Ashley's supporters of the ongoing impact his crimes have had on her life. However, Ashley has continued to focus on moving forward rather than dwelling on his release, demonstrating once again her remarkable resilience and strength. If you found Ashley's incredible survival story as powerful as we did, make sure to subscribe to Criminal Mind Cortex for more extraordinary true crime cases that showcase the amazing strength of the human spirit. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest investigations into cases that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about human resilience and survival.